All right, all right, all right. Let's clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. Once again, it's Monday. This is One West News Desk, Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, out of One West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yohana. This is the One West News Desk, reporting with Captain Saparia, and I'm Officer Matham Shakaria. I'm holding it down for Captain Saparia today. This is the One West News Desk. We're going to be getting into a little bit of news today, talking about the things that's going on, you understand, locally, nationally, maybe some international news, depending on what's going on. The first article we're going to get into today, we got a triple shooting that killed a teacher, injured a man, and an 11-year-old in Baltimore. See, let's read this article. It says security camera obtained by WJZ captured a triple shooting that killed a teacher and injured a man and an 11-year-old girl in a vehicle Wednesday evening in North Baltimore. Officers responded around 5:30 p.m. for a reported shooting in the 5400 block of York Road, which is not that far from where we are right now, where a 52-year-old woman identified as Antoinette Tunstall Jennings was found suffering from gunshot wounds inside a vehicle. The pre-K paraeducator at Waverly Elementary School was pronounced unalived at the scene. Man, that's a tragedy right there. And that's the problem with us. You understand? You understand? In all of our urban communities. You understand? We should be policing ourselves. You understand? We should be policing ourselves. We're allowing other people to police us. And then we get caught up in the the nighttime scene, the after scenes of our oppressor. You understand? These shootings of our own people, these are not things that are a part of our customs or culture. You understand? We as a people, and I'm saying as a people, I'm speaking of so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives. You understand? The things that are happening to us today are not a part of our culture. The reason why we're going through this, the reason why we're suffering so much is because we follow and we stick up under our oppressor. You understand? We talked about this the other day. Integration has truly destroyed us as a people. And we always say, whenever you integrate into anything, you become the very thing that you integrate into. You understand? And in integrating into our oppressor, we have totally took on negativity. You understand? This is the reason why we are destroyed as a people. You understand? We are destroyed so much so that we're turning on our own. We're unaliving our own. We're destroying our own people. You understand? No other culture does this. You understand? In America. We are the only culture that does this in America. The greatest people on the face of this earth, and we just sit around and destroy our own. You understand? Let's read some more on this. It says police said a 29-year-old man and an 11-year-old girl were also found in the vehicle suffering from gunshot wounds. They are expected to survive. Family also said a 4-year-old child was in the car, a whole family. This is a whole family. And this is terrible when it's coming down to whole families being subject to this kind of ferocity. You understand? This is not something that, like I said before, is not a part of us as a people. You understand? Before the 1950s, during the 1950s, all the way up into the beginning of the 60s, we actually took care of our people. And we took care of our people because our oppressor did not want to be integrated with us. So we only had us to rely on. And now, because we have integrated into our oppressor society, now we take on all the customs and the culture, not to mention all of the negativity. Every negative thing that our oppressor is, think about it, right? The 1900s, the 1800s, the 1900s, our oppressor was the bank robber, or is the bank robber, still the bank robber. They were the unalivers of the earth. You understand? They were the essayers of the earth. Every negative thing that you can think about was our oppressor. They were the whores of the earth. And as we integrate into them, we become them. And in becoming them, now we're beginning to suffer all of the iniquity, or all of the negativities of our oppressor. If our oppressor is left to themselves, to their own devices, living on their own, living amongst their own, they would destroy themselves out. They will wipe themselves out. But here we're reading right here where a whole family, almost a whole family, was unalived in a car. These are the things that go on with us. These are the reason why we're suffering in such a way is because we believe we're a part of our oppressor. We believe that this is one big melting pot. One big melting pot. We're all together. We're all one. This is the lie that they got us to believe. And in believing in this lie, now we're living out the visions of our oppressor through ourselves. So we have to be the gangsters of the earth when in true, our oppressors have always been the gangsters of the earth. They've always been the drug dealers of the earth. When you go back and look at all of those old movies, all of those old gangster movies, they were the ones doing all the drugs. They were the ones serving and selling all the drugs. Even when you look at all of the old karate movies, these Chinese people, they were the ones that were, the opium sniffers and the ones that were getting high. That wasn't us. That wasn't a part of our culture. But because we've integrated into our oppressor, we become our oppressor. We become a mirrored image of our oppressor. And when you become your oppressor, you suffer all the suffrages of the oppressor. So then you find whole families being almost unalived in a car. People being robbed on the street. Our oppressor has always been the robber. They've always been the thief of the earth. This has never been a part of our culture, but here we are. This is where we are. When we follow our oppressor, this is what we become. A whole family. If you walk up to a car and you start, let me get back into the article. It says, if you walk up to a car and you start shooting, you know that's not random. Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott said, "You are a coward. We have to get these folks off the street." And they say this all the time. This is a part of the rhetoric. You understand? These are the words that get mayors and commissioners elected. It's the same rhetoric. We keep believing the same thing. The only thing that's going to save us from this is if we begin to police ourselves. If we come back to the law, statutes, and commandments and begin to understand who we are. We understand who we are. We'll build our self-esteem and then build our communities, and then we can police our own communities. We are the only people who allow other people to come in and police our communities. The Asians don't allow anybody to come in and police their community. As a matter of fact, most of us don't even know where the Asians live at. We just see them come in, take all of our money, and leave. It's the same thing with the Arabs. Same thing with every nation, the Ethiopians, the Somalians, all of them come in. The Filipinos, all of them come in. They rob our communities and they go back to their communities. Look at all of the Asian stores around in our communities. And you mean to tell me none of them live in our communities? This is where we are. This is what it's come down to. This is exactly what it's come down to. You understand? I'm going to grab this next article. Let's read this next article. Let's see. We got to start policing ourselves. Only people that let people come in and police us. We believe we can't police ourselves. We can't live without. We gotta be the ones to police. You know, we gotta be policed by somebody else. We need more police. We need more police. No, we need to police ourselves. That's what we need. And check this one out right here. Look at this article. This article right here. This is crazy. All right, listen to this. It says Maryland governor vetoes a reparations bill. Now, I'm not saying that we, as in the ISUPK, we're not looking for reparations. We just want to build our people. We can come together, just like in Acts, the 4th chapter, 31 through 35, tells us how to come together, how to build our own community without the assistance of other people. But if reparations happen, well, then they happen. You understand? But let me see here. Okay, I got you, Alizar. But if reparations happen, they happen. But let's read this right here, right? It says Maryland Governor Wes Moore says he has vetoed a state-approved bill to create a commission to study and recommend reparations for slavery and racial discrimination. Now, before we get into it, let's listen to what's being said right here, right? It says that he has vetoed a state-approved bill to create a commission. Now, remember, they're only making a bill to create a commission to study, not to give, but to study. And this is the thing. This is how our oppressor plays on us, right? This is how the oppressor plays on us. It says to create a commission to study and recommend reparations for slavery and racial discrimination, not to give. Listen, it says a commission to study. So before anything is recommended, they have to do a study. And if you think about it, every so many years, they do the same thing. We have to create a study. Not we have to give. And that's where a lot of us get fooled at. See, our oppressor plays the word game a lot. And every time we hear that word reparations, we all get excited, believing something's going to truly happen. One day it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. Listen, if the oppressor was to give us reparations, they would owe us this whole country. Think about it. After 400 plus years as an enslaved people with free labor, they would owe us damn near this whole country. They would have to leave. This is the reason why they play the word game. You understand? We have to make a commission, so that they can study and see if, we deserve. I would never say we don't deserve. But this is something that will never happen. They play this word game every so many years to keep you intrigued and keep you under the thumb of the oppressor. because a lot of people believe one day something's going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. Not until Christ comes, not until Christ returns. Nothing is going to happen. This is the reason why we got to come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments. Nothing's going to happen. Reparations are not coming. Reparations are not coming. We have to make our way. And that way will be made when Christ returns. You understand? Think about it. Listen, it says, he has vetoed a state-approved bill to create a commission to study and recommend reparations for slavery and racial discrimination. Listen to this. In his veto letter sent on Friday, Moore pointed to several commissions the state has already approved, including the Maryland. Listen, let me finish reading this. It says, including the Maryland Lynching Truth and Reconciliation Commission and the State Commission to coordinate the study, commemoration, and impact of the history and legacy of slavery in Maryland. They created all of these commissions that have done nothing for us. And now what he's saying is, look at all of these things we've already created for our people to not do anything. Well, I'm going to veto this thing right here. And because we're going to create a commission that it's not going to do anything anyway. It says, he says, I will always protect and defend the full history of African Americans in our state and country. Moore wrote in his letter, but in light of many important studies that have taken place on this issue over nearly 3 decades, now is the time to focus on the work itself, narrowing the racial wealth gap, expanding home ownership, uplifting entrepreneurs of color, and closing the foundational disparities that lead to inequalities from food insecurities to education. They preach this every so many years. Home ownership, we've been hearing that since forever. Racial wealth gap, we've been hearing that forever. Listen, how can you close the racial wealth gap when you're giving every immigrant that comes into this country from all of these other countries, you're giving them all of the businesses in our neighborhoods, relegating us to fruit salesmen and taxi cab drivers? How can the racial gap be closed? The racial gap can never be closed. We get excited when we see one person open a small business that can only feed their family. Oh, the racial gap is being closed. See, there we go. We have a business. But these other people have industries. They have industries that can build their whole community. We get one store that can only help one family, and that family is still struggling. And we get excited about that. We get excited. See, it's the carrot on the string that they do. All of this, and this is the reason why we keep telling our people, this is the reason why we should not be in our oppressors' politics. Because this is what they do. They take one of ours and then bring them back to us and tell us that they're closing the wealth gap. I have not seen the wealth gap close. The wealth gap gets bigger every year. And I believe ever since the 60s, they've been talking about closing the wealth gap. Think about it, right? Narrowing the wealth gap, expanding home ownership. How can you expand home ownership when you're redlining Black people, when you're redlining Hispanics and natives, when you're keeping natives on reservations, when you're keeping Hispanics in cages on the border, when you're keeping Black people in prison? Is that home ownership? Does that sound like home ownership? Redlining? Does that sound like home ownership? Not to me. Uplifting entrepreneurs of color. Think about this, right? This is another thing that we have to watch out for, because this is another word play that they use on us, and they always use, this is it. You got to hear this, right? People of color and colored people are two different phrases. They use people of color just like they did when what's her name, Harris, was running for president. They called her a woman of color. They didn't call her a colored woman because there is a difference, but a lot of us don't notice the difference, and we jump on board and we ride that ship, just like we took that boat ride over here into America as slaves. We ride that people of color ship right back into slavery, or we never left slavery really, but we ride that right into slavery again. Our minds are encapsulated, are enchained again, hearing these phrases, people of color. When they speak of people of color, they're talking about anybody with hue in their skin except for black people. When they talk about people of color, they're talking about every nation of people that come over here with hue in their skin except for Negroes in America or in the islands, you know, the ones that were slaves. That's what people of color are. Now, colored people are us. Black people are us. Notice they never say for black people. They never say for colored people. They always use that term, people of color. Hold on for a minute. I got somebody at the door. Right back. Give me a sec. All right. We back. All right. So where was I at? What I was saying was, think about the terms that they use, right? They say people of color. When they say speak of people of color, they're talking about anybody with hue in their skin. They talk about black people, that's when they're talking about us. You understand? So let's see what they're talking about right here. They're talking about in the closing of foundational disparities that lead to inequality, from food insecurity to education. And they've destroyed us with the education. You understand? They destroyed us. Huh?
Can we take the article?
Yeah. You can read that. Right there. I'm right there.
Okay.
That next paragraph right there. Go ahead and read that.
Moore, the state's first black governor.
See that right there? And this is when they write these articles, they always want you to know that this person is important.
Mm-hmm.
This is the state's first black governor. So that gets black people excited just to hear about the first black. But this is what they do. Though whenever they say the first black anything, this is what they want you to latch on to, the first black. And this is where the blinders are put on us. This is where the veil is pulled over our face, because we hear the first black. But what has the first black anything have ever done? Think about this. Thurgood Marshall. What has Thurgood Marshall done for us? Clarence Thomas.
Yeah.
You understand? What has the first black anything have done for us? We have to operate as black people as a whole. It can't be a first black this and a first black that, because as we can see, even the first black mayors, the first black commissioners, the first black lieutenant governors, they have done nothing for us. America is the same as it was when we got here. Nothing has changed about America. All of that black and white stuff, that's garbage. You understand? That first black this and first black that has never helped us. You understand? They use us as the face of. Think about this too, right? They just did that the other day when they used that that black 4-star general to down talk that what's the African, that president over there, and what's the name? You know who I'm talking about, right? Whenever they have to do something negative against a dark nation of people who have a dark leader, I'm gonna use that term, a dark leader, they always use a black face to do it. When something negative happens, even when they have all of those, think about this, right? When they have all of those negative unalivings, they always use a black sheriff or a black commissioner to come on, and when it's something real negative. You understand what I'm saying? They always use that black face when it's something negative. And this is what we'll always be known for. And just like that black president said, what is his name? Ibrahim.
Some of the African?
Yeah.
Oh, they said the black.
His name
is Ibrahim.
Ibrahim something, right? But
Traore.
Yeah, Traore or something like that, right? But the thing that he said, and even though we're not taking the side of these Africans, but the one powerful thing that he did say was, every time America comes up against a dark nation, they always use a black face to do it. They always use a black face to do it. We always get used by America. We get used and we get balled up and we get thrown away. You understand? This is where let me hold. This is where we get it messed up at. We believe we are truly with America. We are not America. We are a nation in captivity by America. We think we are part of America. We got no power in America. Think about this, right? All of these black people that we see up on top and everything like that. What has it gotten us? Somebody tell me, what has it gotten us? It sure didn't get us out of the ghettos, right? It didn't get us any more money. It didn't get us any more positions or anything. We have nothing to show for all of those black faces in all of those high places. We got nothing to show for it. Black people still get unalive. Oppressors still get off.
Go
ahead.
I'm so happy because, like, even with him pointing out that they always use, a black face, the ISUPK been saying that forever.
Right.
This, like, and I feel like the blacks going, of course, get behind them. They're going to definitely, be thinking this Black Power season, this Wakanda forever.
Right.
And they will be riding for him. And he's only saying things that he had to have heard from the ISUPK.
Exactly.
He don't know how to, he don't know how to see throughout the blinders just like everybody else.
Right.
He been watching it, but here, of course, Commander Junior Hahn ain't gonna get the credit.
Right.
So they're gonna give it to him and think that he's an exception to oppression.
Well, they ain't gonna give the true source no no props. So
Yeah.
we understand where all of that comes from. You understand? But man, hey, listen, this is incredible. Like I said, what was the week? A couple of weeks ago, you had what's that? Not what was the black dude that did the longest filibuster? 25 hours and 15 minutes or 10 minutes or something like that, right? Think about this. This black man, what was his name? I won't get his name. We got to get his name. The filibuster. He did the filibuster a couple weeks ago. The longest filibuster ever done. It gave him a standing ovation, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? Cory Booker.
Cory Booker.
Cory Booker, right? The longest filibuster in history. What did it get black people? Now he's known to have the longest filibuster in history, but it didn't do a thing for black people. Didn't change a situation, didn't save a life, didn't get anybody a job, didn't help us build our own communities or anything. The oppressor could care less about a record for the longest filibuster. We always go ahead.
You said his name was what? What you said?
Cory Booker.
Cory. It's
What's his name?
Thurman.
Let me see.
Thurman. It's Strom Thurman.
This just happened. This just happened 25 hours. He just did it 2 weeks ago. He had 25 hours. Yeah, that's old right there. Yeah, that was old right there. Cory Booker. Look up Cory Booker. But he just did it. He just did it like it had to be like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, you're right.
About 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
You just looked it up last
2
weeks ago.
Yeah, he did it 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Just hold it. Just raise your hand. You're right.
Hold on for a minute. We get you. We're gonna get you. But he just did that like 2 or 3 weeks ago, something like that. You understand what I'm saying? Right. So we always looking at menial stuff that means nothing. You understand? Stuff that doesn't help us. We got all of the records of everything that doesn't help us. You understand? We got the best football players. That don't help us.
Right.
Because them suckers, they retire, they come on and they shuck and jive for the oppressor.
Right.
We got the best singers. They retire, do the same thing.
Right.
Stuff that are vain.
Say that again.
We look up the stuff that's vain.
Yep, we look up the stuff that is vain. Where you learned that big word from? That's my nephew. You know what I mean? We look up, and you're right. We look up to the things that are vain, the things that are empty, the things that mean nothing to us. That's what little Darash just said. Little Darash. How old are you, Darash? You 8? An 8-year-old. An 8-year-old understands that we look up to the things that are vain, the things that are meaningless.
Yeah.
These are the things that get us off and get us nowhere.
You got the mic.
With the one down here. This one right here work.
That's the one we using, right?
Yeah.
The one we had. Remember we had the one.
There's another one sitting right there.
It is.
Yeah.
Right. If you do see it, just use the mic so the audience can hear you.
Yep. Officer Malabar, Shalom, Ramat, Adolphus Last, Shalom, everybody that's in the room, everybody that came in the room. You understand? Daryl Lynn, Shalom, Alazar. I see you, bro. Yeah, you know.
I'm everywhere.
Yeah, how about that? Everywhere is everywhere. You understand? But listen, this is why we gotta stop. We look up to the things that are meaningless, the things that are vain. You breaking records, but records don't help us right now. You understand? Records are not gonna get us off of the streets.
Right.
You understand? Records are not gonna get us jobs. You understand? Or get us the pay that we deserve.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. And the only thing that's going to get us the pay that we deserve, we start opening up our own industries, not just businesses, but industries. We have to start supporting our businesses. And what do I mean by when I say we got to start supporting our businesses? Well, Think about this. You have to think about it like this. Even with a Chinese store, right? A place that sells Chinese food. The Chinese people sell the Chinese food. Who do they get the soy sauce from? Who do they get the soy sauce from? Chinese people. Who do they get the egg rolls from? Chinese people. Who do they get the fortune cookies from? Chinese people. Who do they get the egg noodles from? Chinese people. This is how you support. So I'm not talking about coming and always spending our money, but we have to start with one industry and we have to supply, right. Make other industries that supply that businesses. Listen, this is how the Asians are building their communities. So we always look at, we have to spend our money there, but we go to school. I'm going to go somewhere else, right? We go to school for business management. What does that mean? Business management. We go to school to manage our oppressors' businesses. You understand? But what we need to start doing is we need to start going to school for business development. We need to be able to develop our own businesses. We need to be able to connect smaller businesses to the bigger business to feed the bigger business.
Right.
You understand? Right. That's what we need to start doing. We need to start entrepreneurshipping our own people. We have to stop worrying about being sponsored by our oppressor. Because when we get sponsored by our oppressor, we have to live by the rules of our oppressor. That's what we have to do. You understand? This is what we got to stop. We got to stop thinking as the oppressor and start thinking as our own. You understand? As our own people. We got to start thinking about each other and not the oppressor. You understand? And that's the problem with us is we think so much about the oppressor that we stop thinking about our own. Is she hungry?
If I could. And I feel like the best way for us to stop putting our oppressor first, we got to come up from under our oppressor.
Right.
Like it's hard for us to try to think about business when we still oppressed and we keep envying our oppressor and trying to catch up, but we so far down because we don't consider us.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we always worried about, we always think competition. We got sex, we got gender wars.
So this is, and just like you said, we always worried about the gender wars. We believe that we can't do it on our own.
Right.
You understand? And because we think we can't do it on our own, we're always asking for the help of the oppressor. Just like with Martin Luther King and the Big Six. They were supposed to be the Big Six, but they had 4 oppressors over top of them telling them what to do. And this is what happens to us as a people. We believe we need somebody, we need the oppressor over top of us to tell us what to do, to instruct us. But think about this, right? The oppressor got all of their ideas from us. This country right now is being run by children. It's being run by children. Look at Trump. Look at Trump running the country. Look at what's happening. The country's falling apart right before our eyes because a child is running the country. We need to begin to run ourselves before we get ran into a hole. You understand? Let me get this last article. I got one more article. Where we at? Here we go. Come on, find it, baby. Find it. Oh, yeah. Think about this. The FBI links fertility clinic bombing to an anti-nationalist ideology. Natalist ideology. All right, listen to this right here. The car bombing outside a California fertility clinic that killed 1 person and injured 4 others appears to have been driven by anti-natalist ideology, according to 2 senior law enforcement officials briefed on the incident. The suspects, identified by authorities as Guy Edward Bartkus, is believed to have detonated the explosives in Saturday's attack, which claimed his own life. Think about it, right? Go ahead.
So is that was that thing like that was one of those anti-abortion like?
This was a fertility clinic. So instead of going there to unalive babies, this is a fertility clinic where they go to be inseminated. Right? So they don't believe in life either. Because you know this was an oppressor. You understand? This was an oppressor. You understand? They don't believe in life either. So, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't. They on the opposite side of both. They don't like life and they don't like death. So, I mean, what is that? That's mixed up. You understand? But what do we say, right? This country is being run by children. You understand? What the scriptures say? Children are our oppressors. You understand? Children are our oppressors. Look at the country. It's falling apart. We need righteous rulership. And righteous rulership can only be run by the ISUPK. You understand? Under commanding General Yohana. That's it. This is where you find righteous rulership at. You understand? And with that, it's the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, One West News Desk. We're going to shut it down, but we're going to come right back up in a couple of minutes. We're going to be doing history class tonight. So give us a couple of minutes. We're going to be right back with you, and we're going to get set up for this history class. With that, shalom, Israel. All right, all right.